Hello and welcome back to the Wild Files, the podcast where we unpack the people side of MSP life. I'm your host, Jane Matthews, founder of Wildcat Careers, where we work exclusively with MSPs to fix broken hiring processes, craft cultures people actually want to work in, and build teams that succeed. So on the podcast today, we're going to talk about something candidates are becoming increasingly skeptical about, MSP job adverts. And honestly, some of them accidentally sound like burnout described, as opportunity. You know the kind. The role somehow includes support, projects, escalations, infrastructure, security, client management, documentation, mentoring, strategy, all hidden inside one vaguely named support role. And candidates notice very quickly, particularly experienced MSP people, because experienced MSP candidates know what a sustainable operational structure looks like. And when adverts sound overloaded, candidates start imagining overloaded environments. See, that is what modern recruitment psychology looks like now. Candidates are not just evaluating an opportunity anymore. They're evaluating sustainability, and that is a huge shift. People want interesting work, growth, projects, development, but they also want environments that feel emotionally manageable. And frankly, a lot of MSP adverts accidentally create the opposite feeling. They create emotional exhaustion before somebody has even applied. And that's what we're unpacking today. Why overloaded recruitment messaging damages trust, why giant technical wish lists put, candidates out of the way, why vague role structure creates skepticism, why candidates now read between the lines consistently, and what strong MSPs are actually doing differently. Because the best candidates are not looking for perfection. Get my words out. They are looking for honesty, though. So let's get into it. So one of the biggest problems in MSP recruitment right now is unrealistic role construction. And frankly, a lot of adverts accidentally read like operational desperation. What do I mean? Well, businesses often write adverts based on everything they currently need help with, not what one person, one human being can actually realistically own sustainably. And that's the important distinction. So adverts become these, giant operational wish lists. And, the business wants someone who can run projects, handle escalations, support first line, manage Azure, own security, handle networking, lead migrations, improve documentation, mentor juniors, support clients, improve internal process, and probably somehow still answer tickets quickly while smiling. See, candidates read this and immediately start imagining overload. And that matters massively because candidates are constantly trying to predict daily life from adverts, not admire technical complexity. And when roles sound unrealistic, trust drops immediately, particularly with experienced MSP candidates, because experienced MSP people understand operational reality. Well, they know sustainable environments rarely rely on one person carrying absolutely everything. So when adverts sound impossible, candidates assume the operational environment probably feels impossible too. And honestly, they're often right. So I want to talk now about how people read between the lines of adverts. This is one of the biggest shifts in recruitment. Candidates decode adverts emotionally now. They read between the lines constantly. When candidates see must thrive under pressure, they often hear, this environment probably lacks operational breathing room. When they see many hats, they often hear role boundaries may be unclear. When they read fast-paced environments, they often hear people are likely overloaded here. Now look, that may sound harsh, but candidates are evaluating risk. This is what recruitment has become. People are trying to avoid joining environments that feel permanently reactive, particularly in the MSP space, because a lot of experienced candidates have already lived through burnout. They have experienced, chronic service desks, permanent firefighting, leadership overload, unclear ownership, emotional, exhausting environments. So candidates have become more observant, more cautious, and quite frankly, more skeptical. And that changes how we do recruitment massively because vague hiring language no longer creates excitement. Instead, it creates suspicion. Now, guys, I want to talk about these amazing technical wish lists because this one matters hugely in MSPs and MSP recruitment. A lot of businesses think more technology makes adverts sound more impressive, but quite honestly, often they simply make the role sound exhausting. Candidates read, AWS, Azure, Fortinet, networking, cyber essentials, security frameworks, VMware, Hyper-V, M365, Intune, Autopilot, Cisco, PowerShell, all inside one advert. And instead of thinking, wow, that's exciting, candidates think, how many responsibilities are currently sitting on one person? That emotional response matters because recruitment messaging creates emotional prediction. Candidates start imagining long evenings, escalation overload, context split, switching, permanent operational pressure. Whether businesses intended that or not, the advert creates emotional forecasting. And candidates are highly sensitive to emotional sustainability, particularly experienced MSP people. Now, let's talk about culture messaging, because quite frankly, candidates are becoming increasingly numb to generic hiring recruitment language because every MSP claims amazing culture, I'll get my words out, amazing culture, supportive environment, friendly team, great progression. And candidates have heard it all before. That's the problem. Because eventually people stop listening to slogans and start looking for operational proof. And this is where many MSP adverts fail. They market aspiration instead of operational reality. And candidates can feel the difference instantly, particularly experienced people. Because experienced MS people, people know what strong operational environments actually feel like. They know what healthy communication sounds like. They know what stable leadership feels like. And importantly, I'm getting passionate now, they know what overloaded environments look like too. That's why generic culture claims without operational detail create skepticism. Because candidates trust believable businesses more than polished businesses. And that is a huge shift. Right now, one of the most underrated things strong MSP adverts do is create clarity, clear ownership, clear expectations, clear structure. Candidates understand what they own, what support exists, how teams are structured, what success looks like. That level of clarity massively increases trust because clarity creates emotional safety. And emotional safety matters hugely right now, particularly in strong candidates, because strong candidates usually have options, guys, which means they evaluate operational confidence very carefully. And clear adverts create confidence. And vague adverts, well, they create uncertainty. And that difference, that matters massively. I genuinely think one of the biggest recruitment shifts happening right now is this. Honesty is outperforming hype. That is huge. Businesses trying to sound perfect often sound, unrealistic. Meanwhile, the MSPs attracting strong people usually communicate realistic workloads, clear support structure, honest expectations, transparent environments. And honesty feels refreshing, particularly inside MSP recruitment, because candidates have become incredibly skeptical of exaggerated promises. They would rather hear, this is a really busy environment, but here is how we structure the support, than we're a fast-paced family who works hard and plays hard. One feels believable, and the other feels like corporate theatre. And candidates know the difference. Now, this part is really important because recruitment messaging often reveals operational maturity, whether MSPs realize it or not. Overloaded adverts often expose weak role boundaries, operational gaps, leadership stretch, growth pressure, unclear ownership. Candidates pick up on that, particularly experienced MSP professionals. Because experienced MSP people understand operational pressure. They know what sustainable environments look like. And quite frankly, candidates are becoming increasingly selective about emotional sustainability. That matters massively because businesses no longer compete only on salary. They compete on operational confidence, and adverts shape confidence long before those interviews begin. Now, the strongest MSP adverts are actually surprisingly simple. They're not louder, they are clearer. The best adverts sound human, describe operational reality, clarify ownership, set realistic expectations, explain the support structure, and importantly, they sound believable. That's huge because believable businesses attract trust. Strong MSP adverts also explain what growth genuinely feels like, what development support exists, how leadership support teams, what success realistically means. That level of operational honesty differentiates businesses massively now because honesty creates confidence and confidence attracts those strong candidates. Now, I think MSP recruitment is actually entering another really interesting phase because candidates are becoming much more emotionally intelligent buyers of opportunity. They're evaluating operational maturity, leadership stability, workload realism, emotional stability, communication quality. And adverts are often the first place candidates begin gathering those signals. That means adverts matter more than many businesses realize. Not because they need to sound exciting, because they need to sound believable. That's the shift. The MSPs attracting strong people long term are usually not the businesses making the biggest promises. They are the businesses communicating the clearest reality. And candidates trust that difference immediately. So that's it for today's episode of the Wild Files. If this episode made you want to completely rewrite your MSP job adverts, honestly, good. Because candidates are reading far more between the lines than most businesses realize. And the MSPs attracting strong talent long term are usually the businesses brave enough to communicate honestly. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with another MSP leader who's still searching for a rock star engineer who thrives under pressure. And if you want more conversations around hiring, leadership, retention, and operational stability inside MSPs, make sure you subscribe. Until next time, stay intentional, stay structured, and as always, stay wild.